It can be a very small thing, or for example, consider the dialogue in this unit. What if you have a family and the husband wants to go to a vacation in Europe, but the children, they want to go to Disneyland? Or the wife wants to go to Disneyland. That's a vacation issue. I think we often have these kinds of situations. You have a family, some people want to do option A, and some people want to do option B. What do we do now? We're going to have to negotiate. It may look like arguing sometimes. There may be some conflict, but in the end, it's all the same. It's negotiating to reach an outcome that everyone can be satisfied with. Not necessarily everyone gets what they want or 100% of what they want. But for sure, you cannot have a situation where one side gets nothing. In that case, they just walk away and they won't bargain at all. So, we will talk more about that in future units. Let's look at this dialogue. Maybe you can read along with me from your book. Fred says, we need a plan for our summer vacation. So here we have Fred, who seems to be the father. They're getting ready for their summer vacation. But then Jane says, I don't want to wait until the last minute like we did last year. Here we start with a negotiation context or situation. Fred and Jane, mom and dad, husband and wife. Fred is pointing out that they need to plan ahead. He is setting a kind of deadline. Jane agrees, saying she wants to plan ahead too. So in a way, they found something in common. This is actually a very interesting idea. You cannot have a negotiation unless two people have something in common. Here we see that Fred and Jane both want to plan. That's a key point. Fred says, we couldn't even get a hotel room. He means last year they waited too long. Every place was packed. That's a good reason to plan ahead. So Fred is laying out why they need to plan ahead. Why do we want to make a plan for summer even though summer is not here yet? Well, Jane says, it should not be too hard to get a flight to Disneyland if we go before the summer rush. She means Disneyland in California, of course. Jane wants to go to Disneyland, so she's planning ahead. Fred says, I thought we could travel overseas, see another country. So now we begin a key part of negotiation. They have something in common, but they also have something different. What's different? Jane wants to go to Disneyland. Fred wants to travel overseas. It seems like they live in America. Jane would like to go to Disneyland in California. Fred would like to visit another country. Jane says, the kids really want to go to Disneyland. They've been counting on it for months. All their friends have been to Disney many times. Now Jane is explaining why it's important to go to Disneyland. Why is it important to go to Disneyland? Well, Fred responds, I know, but traveling overseas will give them a chance to see another culture, really learn something about the world. So now we're developing two positions, Fred and Jane. They both have something in common. They want to go somewhere in the summer. They want to plan ahead and don't want to wait until the last minute. This they agree on. If you agree on nothing, you cannot negotiate. If you agree on something, you can begin negotiation. So we begin, yes, we have a goal. The goal is almost the same, but now we find out that within this goal, something is different. In this case, quite different. It's between going to Disneyland or traveling overseas for vacation. Jane says, I think everyone would like to just rest during their vacation. Go to Disneyland, you can rest. You can stay in a hotel. You can go on the rides. You can take it easy. You can have fun. Fred says, that sounds inflexible. You mean we can only rest on our vacation? We can't learn anything? Now, Fred is kind of pushing back. His idea is, what do you mean we can only rest? That might not be good, and Jane says, that is not what I mean. Of course we can do both. I am flexible. Why does Jane say she's flexible? And why does Fred accuse her of being inflexible? In a negotiation, we have something in common. And we have something that is not common. It's important for us to try to make the thing that's not common come together. Somehow find something we can agree on. That way, we can solve our disagreement and come to a conclusion. If I say you're inflexible, that means you are not willing to change. If you are not willing to change, then we cannot move together. So Fred is using this to accuse Jane of being inflexible. Jane says she is flexible. She can change her mind. She says so, but we shall see if she really does. Fred says, well, you know our neighbors, the Millers. They took separate vacations last year, with everyone going where they wanted. That seemed to make everyone happy. But I really want us to have a vacation together. Now, here we come to another core point. I want to do something and you want to do something, but we want to go on vacation. Yeah. Okay, we agree on that. Next, I want to go overseas and you want to go to Disney. We disagree on that. What's one way to solve this? One way is, you go where you want and I go where I want. If you go where you want and I go where I want, I'm happy and you're happy. This is a real negotiation strategy. It can lead to a conclusion where you do what you want and I do what I want. I'm happy and you're happy. However, Fred isn't really happy with this idea. He would rather go on a vacation together. So let's see what Jane says. Jane says, I agree. Separate vacations wouldn't be the same as a family trip. The bottom line is, if we don't go together, then I don't want to go. Here, Jane gives us a bottom line. In negotiation, the bottom line means I cannot change this. This is the least I must have to conclude this negotiation. If we want to have a negotiation, you must have at least give me this. This is my bottom line. So the bottom line is really a key idea. Fred says, at least we can agree on that. Can't we find some kind of compromise? Maybe we could stop at Disney for a day or two on the way to another country. So here, Fred is trying to offer a compromise. Can we have a compromise? Can we do a little bit of what you want and a little bit of what I want? Remember, one way is you could do what you want and I could do what I want, and we don't come together. Or maybe we can do a little bit of what I want and a little bit of what you want. That's called compromise. Jane says, that's a good idea, but we waste so much time at airports, and then we would have to spend more money to get to and from the park, and all that before we leave on an international flight. To be honest, I think we would all be tired out already. Fred says, I just don't know what we can find that is in the middle that can make everyone happy.